What's up, shit? Timmy's here. With the new film, with Brendan Fraser, coming out this week, called Rental Family, I decided to go ahead and do my top 10 favorite Brendan Fraser movies. Because obviously he, of course, is having a Fraser stance. He most recently won an Oscar. He's been in some really countless stuff from the 90s, and so on. So, here is my official top 10. Number 10 is the 1999 movie Blast from the Past. Of course, it stars Brendan Fraser and Alicia Silverstone, and it's more like after spending 35 years in a fallout shelter with his eccentric parents, Adam Weber, played by Fraser, emerges to modern society completely unfamiliar with the real world and forced for a woman while adjusting to life above ground and all. And the chemistry romance scenes with like Fraser, Silverstone's really great. You also do got like 60 SpaceX in this, Christopher Walken, Dave Foley. It is a really nice little charming film that's well worth watching there. Hugh Wilson directed it as well. Really good. Good directing that show. Number 9 is Airheads. Now, Airheads, of course, stars Adam Sandler, Brendan Fraser, and Steve Buscemi as three rock musicians who, desperate for a bit, break stage a fake hostage situation at a radio station to get their demo played here. And Airheads is a really nice little comedy. The chemistry with like Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler, and Steve Buscemi is great. It was cool seeing like a Airheads reunion a couple years back, where Adam Sandler and Brendan Fraser was interviewing each other. So that was really nice. Of course, you had Joe Mantegna was also in this. David Arquette. I mean, Brendan Fraser's Chaz is like a passionate, idealistic, and stubborn, committed to rock, and he gives like him a mix of rock star swagger and cluelessness at times too. And man, I would love to see a sequel. Like, imagine seeing a sequel of Fraser's, Buscemi, and Sandler together. I think it's finally time for an Airhead sequel, but who knows? All right. Number 8 is School Ties. Pretty much one of like the one that I guess you could say Brendan Fraser's breakout role. Really, it stars the likes of Matt Damon, Brendan Fraser, Chris O'Donnell, Ben Affleck. It was also one of like Damon and Affleck's earliest films, and it's about a talented Jewish quarterback who wins a scholarship at a prestigious prep school, but hides his identity to avoid discrimination and all. And the movie is really intense at times. Great performances by Fraser. Damon's terrific. Chris O'Donnell. Of course, Fraser's David Green is very proud and brave and morally. And like Fraser plays him like very quiet and testily, portraying him like an inner conflict between fitting in and staying true to himself. And he does such a good job at times. All right, number 7 is Casino Man. Now, it is crazy to believe this movie now has not one but two Oscar winners, in that Ke Kwan and Brendan Fraser. Of course, they both actually won the same Oscar the same year, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, now of course, Casino Man stars Brendan Fraser, as well as like Sean Astin, Pauly Shore, the aforementioned Ke Kwan, and his batch of high school outcasts who discovers a frozen caveman in their backyard, and after drawing him out. They like introduce him to modern life here, and like, obviously Brendan Fraser, Sean Astin was both great. Of course, Fraser plays the caveman with a gentle heart and huge comedic energy. There is actually talks about a possible sequel. Like even Pauly Shore has mentioned that they want to do a sequel, which I'm all for it. But Encino Man is a really decent one. I mean, Ke Kwan, of course, was great in this as well. Fraser was terrific. Like him playing like a caveman is always hilarious to see. And yeah, Casino Man's really a 90s classic right there. All right, number 6 is With Honors. With Honors is a really nice little film. It stars Brendan Fraser and Joe Pesci about Harvard students, Desus, forced into the hands of this homeless man, played by Joe Pesci, forcing the student to bargain with him for like a first return. And it's a really nice, like heartfelt story, about friendship, compassion, and all. And the chemistry with Fraser and Pesci is both really heartfelt. Maura Kelly's really good. Patrick Dempsey, Josh Hamilton. It is a really nice, heartfelt film, and definitely will. It is also pretty touching at times too. All right, number 5 is George of the Jungle. Georgia's Jungle, of course, starred the likes of Brendan Fraser, Leslie Mann, Thomas Hayden Church, the late great Richard Roundtree, Holland Taylor, and of course, this is about jungle race Tarzan like hero meets like this wealthy Harris, played by Leslie Mann, after rescuing her from like dangers here. Obviously, him portraying like this Tarzan type character, like he did a great job at playing George. Obviously, of course, they never really done like a sequel with Brad Fraser back. That's unfortunate, but he really does play the part well. One of the most funnest, like one of the most fun characters of his, and a really cool character he portrayed. I mean, obviously, he's always known for when it comes to family fair fun, and George Junga is no exception. All right, number 4 is Looney Tunes back in action. I don't care what anyone says, Looney Tunes back in action is awesome. Is it as good as Space Jam? Definitely not. I still prefer Space Jam and all. But this obviously blends like live action, animation, and follows Stuntman played by Brendan Fraser, and Bugs Bunny as they team up to rescue DJ's kidnapped father, and recover the mythical blue monkey here. Of course, you got the great Timothy Dalton, Jenna Elfman, Steve Martin plays the villain in this one. Joe Cusack pops up in this. A fun cameo by Matthew Lillard. I just always adore Back in Action. It's fun. It's entertaining. It is a childhood favorite of mine. I will watch this one tons of times back in the days. It's just a really fun one here, and I'll. I don't really think hardly no one would go see it at times, and it did not really get the best love. But I will always be a Back in Action defender. All right, coming in at number 3 is The Whale. Of course, the movie that did win Brandon Fraser his first ever Oscar. Now, of course, this was directed by Darren Aronofsky, and is about like this obese English teacher who attempts to reconnect with his strange teen daughter while grappling with guilt, grief, and consequences of his past choice. And The Whale is terrific. Of course, again, Fraser did win his Oscar here. Very unrecognizable and all. He gives like definitely one of his best performances here throughout. I mean, it gets really heartbreaking at times. I mean, it was just a great comeback for him, and I'm so glad that he got loads of one recognition. Happy I know there are a lot of people who think Austin Butler should have won his Oscar that year, and you know what? I wouldn't complain if Austin Butler did win, but I am happy Brandon Fraser won, and it was a well deserved Oscar win in my opinion, and it's a good performance here. All right, number 2 is speaking of stuff that's probably gonna be unpopular. Number 2 is Crash. I am a cold-hearted Crash defender. Crash is excellent. I'm sorry. I think it deserved its Best Picture win. I know people complain saying that this is the worst Best Picture win of all time. Even Jack Nixon wasn't a fan of it winning at the Oscars once. But I don't care what anyone says. Crash is terrific. And of course, you got Brendan Fraser who plays Rick Cabot, and Sandra Bullock, of course, plays his wife. And it follows several connected stories set in LA, exploring racism, prejudice. And here you got Brendan Fraser, who plays an LA district attorney, whose political concerns leads him to a decision influence. And his wife, played by Sandra Bullock, does you know does there is a really intense moment with Sandra Bullock's character in this. That's really but she does such a great job here. The couple chemistry with Sandra Bullock, Brandon Fraser is great. Obviously, the whole cast in this is great. From Don Cheadle, to Matt Dillon, to Terrence Howard. The list goes on and on. It is a really great movie. Great dialogue by Fraser. I mean, it's such an amazing film here. And my number one favorite Brandon Fraser film is obviously The Mummy. Now, I actually only decided to just go with the first Mummy. I like The Mummy Returns, don't get me wrong, but I'm going with the first one. Starring Brandon Fraser as Rick O'Donnell, who teams up with this librarian with her and her brother to explore the ancient city of Hamid of Herbert so I can never pronounce some of these names to be honest. Yeah. And of course, they accidentally awaken a cursed priest here, and this is so iconic. It is a fun, entertaining one. Obviously, Brandon Fraser will go on to reprise his role for he is of course the wisecracking adventure of O'Donnell, and he really plays this character perfectly here. Obviously, he will go on to reprise his role 2 more times. The second one is pretty good. Never been big with the third one. Happy that he is coming back for another one. So but nothing beats that original Mummy. It's just a really fun, entertaining one, and Rachel Weisz is great. John Hannah, Oded Fehr. I mean, it's just such a really entertaining one. Looks definitely blends like Indiana Jones style heroism with comedic charm. It's just a really great one here. But that's pretty much it. Here is of course my quick rundown. Number 10, Blast from the Past. 9, Airheads. 8, School Ties. 7, Encino Man. 6, With Honors. 5, George of the Jungle. 4, Looney Tunes Back in Action. 3, The Whale. 2, Crash. And number 1 is The Mummy. Now there are a few other ones I could have included. Let me see over here. Gods and Monsters with Sir Ian McKellen. That's a good film there. He did Bedazzled with Elizabeth Hurley. The Mummy Returns. Inkheart was okay. The Quiet American. Dudley Do Right. The Nut Job. G.I. Joe, but he only had like a cameo in that one. I always keep forgetting he's in the G.I. Joe film. Everyone, obviously Kills of the Flower Moon that he did with Robert De Niro, DiCaprio, good in that. If you want to go on the TV front, Doom Patrol he was great on. Trust, The Affair. I mean, he's done some really good TV credits as well. But let me ask you guys, what are some of your favorite Brendan Fraser films? Draw comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Sammy.